Hey, true believers. Chris Mack coming at you today with Green Lantern issue 44. This is the next installment of the Blackest Nights. And this issue kills me because if you read... I've said this before, but I'll say it again. In order to really understand a majority of what's happening in this book, at this point you've had to have read Infinite Crisis, you'd had to have read Identity Crisis, and Final Crisis. Yeah, I know. I don't remember what issue of Final Crisis it was by Grant Morrison, but it was the death of the Martian Manhunter. Everyone had a funeral for John on Mars. And as everyone was passing away, as everyone was walking away, Batman placed a chocolate chip cookie on John's grave because that was one of his favorite snacks. It was a very emotional moment. Now coming into Blackest Nights, we know that the dead is rising. Spoiler alerts if you've never read this, so if you haven't, pause this video, go get all the singles and or the collected trades and come back. And you're back. Spoilers abound. Again, here we go. So as we can see, the cookie is still on John's grave. And we just start to see this. The cookie explodes. We see the Black Lantern ring crash through his tomb. It says, John Jones of Mars, rise. And we just see the black. So, real quick, forgive me if I keep calling it the black goo, but and I'll be talking about this on my After Dark channel, but I've been reading a lot of the Xenomorph alien novels because the movies... Like, I just recently watched Covenant finally, and it wasn't too bad, but it was not an alien film. Neither was Prometheus, but Prometheus was better in terms of horror. Anyway, as we know, both Covenant and Prometheus follow the evolution of the black goo that would eventually make the Xenomorphs. Anyway, so I have black goo on the mind, so if I call this black goo, that's where it's coming from. And if you guys have not read the alien novels, I'm going to be making a video over on my After Dark channel talking about how the books are really kicking the ass of the movie franchise right now. So anyway, back to Blackest Nights with the black goo. And we just see John punch his way out of the tomb. And it's just a very, like, oh, crap moment. And then we pick up with where Barry and Hal, I was like, God, what is his name? are left off from Blackest Night issue 0. And as I was talking about in that video, Hal and both Barry have been sort of playing cops of Gotham City since Batman, quote unquote, died from... Oh, that was another one you had to have read. It was Grant Morrison's Batman R.I.P., which led into Final Crisis. Because at this point, everyone thinks Bruce Wayne is dead. Dick Grayson is Batman, and Damian just became Robin. And they're wondering why we see this desecrated ground, and Barry's like, they took Bruce's skull. And it's one of those dun 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 moments. But before we go into any further into that, let's talk about who made this book. This is Jeff Johns writing, Doug Mahnke pencils, inks are Christian Almy, Doug Mahnke, Tom Nugent, Rodney Ramos, colors were Randy Mayer, letter was Rob Lay, and then there's everyone else working on the book. And again, if you guys could help me, I keep forgetting to look every time I'm about to start a review, is who created The Flash and Green Lantern? I have no idea. Same with Aquaman. I always forget to look up their creators. I've read them before, but then my brain just goes, yeah. Anyway, so they're just saying, who would take Bruce's skull? And the question I think we should ask is, who knew he was buried here? Who knew that Bruce Wayne was Batman? But before anything else can happen, as we just saw at the beginning, we see Johns come back and he's saying, you both should be dead. Because Barry originally died in Crisis on Infinite Earths, the original Crisis, basically giving himself up to the Speed Force to stop, I think it was the Anti-Monitor. And then Hal Jordan became Parallax during Emerald Dawn, kind of became a villain. And then he sacrificed himself as a hero to reignite the sun during Final Night. So if you guys haven't read those events, I'll try to go over them eventually, just so many books. But both these characters were returned at the excellent hands of Jeff Johns. But John Jones of Mars is not happy to see two people that should be dead alive. And then we start to see how the Black Lanterns look at all our different characters. So we see Will, Hope. And if you go back and read the earlier issues of this run, the Blue Lanterns are their emotional spectrum is hope. The Star Sapphires are love. The Indigo Tribe's compassion. The Red Lanterns are rage. And then the only Orange Lantern, Larafleeze, is avarice, which is greed. So I like that they kind of just start showing what our characters encompass. So we see here, of course, Hal's Will, and then Barry's Hope, because he's always hopeful. And as Hal's scanning him, it goes, John Jones, founding member of the Justice League, last survivor of the Martian race. Vital signs, negative. And then he just grabs him and he goes, I've come back to help you. And it's just so damn creepy as John just goes right after them, trying to rip Hal's heart out and even giving them doubts about themselves. Go, Barry, you had your chance to embrace the Speed Force, to become a part of Nirvana, but you ran away from it. How would it make you feel to leave Iris and Wally behind again? We see fear. We start seeing this little bit of fear, like doubt, creeping into each character. Same with Hal. He goes, and Hal, after everything you did, if you died at the right time, you would have gone straight to hell. And what was kind of the redeeming quality for Hal Jordan is after he died as Parallax, he became one with the Spectre. And he was the Spectre for the longest time. And so you just see how the Black Lanterns sort of try to instill this doubt. And Hal's just like, Parallax, I beat Parallax. And Wally, Barry's like, Hal, get it together. The Flash doesn't fly. And while he's trying to get the rest of the lanterns on the horn, essentially, we see that something is happening in Oa, which we will be going over Green Lantern Corps 39. And so, again, terror on the streets of Gotham. And I love I love how the writers kind of made this little poke. And a lot of people do forget this. The Martian Manhunter lifts up this firehouse and he goes, I'm as powerful as Superman. Why does everyone forget that? And on top of being as powerful as Superman, John has the added, invisibility, telekinesis. I don't think he has telekinesis, but he is telepathic. So, and he shapeshifts. So, and it's like, geez Louise, this guy is OP. And people forget how great of a character the Martian Manhunter could be. And that's why I don't understand why there's not a good standalone Martian Manhunter comic. I read a miniseries a while back, and we're not going to go into that. But anyway, this one, I think his name's Scar or something like that. They said, Guardian, why are you betraying us? Betraying you? I'm simply carrying out the mission that we began together billions of years ago. I am bringing order to the universe. The Manhunters failed. The Green Lantern Corps failed. It's time for a new army to save the universe. So this is, I think it's called Ysamult, or Ysamult. I forget how to pronounce it, but it's basically the home base of the Red Lantern Corps. And Lara, she became a Red Lantern. Apparently she died. But everyone's starting to see all these rings across the universe infect. So while we're still focusing on our main plot of Barry versus the Martian Manhunter versus Hal Jordan, we're kind of seeing the overall devastation of what this Corps is doing. And then Barry tries to say, John, I know it's you in there, somewhere deep down. Remember we used to talk shop, talk cases? You were fascinated by what you never had on Mars. Law, justice. And we see Barry, and we think we have some hope. We're like, maybe he's getting through to him. But again, remember how I said the Martian Manhunter is telepathic. He's messing with Barry's head, and he's beating the snot out of Hal. And he's going, Barry, it's me. And this splash page is just absolutely gorgeous, nice, crisp, colorful, grabs your attention, and we see what's happening where two longtime best friends are being pit against each other because of the powers of the Martian Manhunter being used for evil. And they're basically saying justice for who? My wife and daughter, myself, the man who orchestrated my murder still walks the street. Half the league you knew is gone. Justice is dead, Barry. And then we come to, God, what's the name of this planet? Xanshi, I think is how you pronounce it. But it was basically a planet that died that Jon Stewart tried to save and almost made him take his life because he couldn't get over the guilt of it. But we start to see the Black Lantern rings coming to this planet. And so even though the fight with the Manhunter, Barry, and Hal is entertaining and excellent, I like that John Jones, of course this is an event book, don't get me wrong, he's able to at least kind of do like a Claremont thing where we get the overarching story that is entertaining, but we're also seeing these effects that are going to be going into latter parts of the story, which makes you want to read more. Hence why the next issue we'll be going over will be Green Lantern Corps, issue 39, to see what happened on Oa before poop hits the proverbial fan back on Earth. So if you've enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop or wherever it is you like to grab your comic books and action figures, and grab this series either in the singles or the collected trade. That way you can get more of the books that we will not be going over, because if I tried to do this whole event, oh, good God, that'd be a nightmare. So we'll just go over the ones that I do have. And if you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little Martian Manhunter bell next to subscribe, that way we can upload content. You guys get notified. Come to the channel, and we love talking with you all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments below, or our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.